The stars bled into streaks of white as the Titan's raft tore through the last stretch of slip space. Its hull, a living fusion of black metal and biomechanical tissue, pulsed faintly with each energy surge, giving the unsettling impression of something alive, something breathing. Commander Eric Vance stood on the observation deck, hands clasped behind his back, his reflection a dark silhouette against the viewports. His sharp eyes tracked the sensor readings, though he didn't need confirmation. They'd arrived. Aurelian space. First contact. Slip space transition complete, reported Lieutenant Juno Rask, the ship's communications officer. Her voice carried a tight edge. We're in the Lyris Expanse. Local traffic is minimal, but they've noticed us. Of course they have, Eric murmured. The Titan's raft was not subtle. Its 1,800-meter hull was shaped like a predator from ancient oceans, armored with overlapping plates that resembled teeth, organic sinew threaded between metal segments, glowing faintly with internal energy currents. To the untrained eye, it looked like a monster birthed from some forbidden forge. And that was the point. Visual contact, Juno said, pulling up a holo display. Aurelian patrol fleet. 6 cruisers, 2 carriers. They're already forming a perimeter. On the screen, the alien vessels appeared sleek and crystalline, their silver hulls reflecting starlight like blades. They moved with precise, almost ceremonial formation, as though wary awaiting something dangerous. A voice, low and gravelly, broke the silence. "They're afraid of us," said Chief Engineer Vale, leaning against the console with a crooked grin. "Can't say I blame them. I'd be terrified of that thing." He gestured toward the viewport. "Showed up in my backyard." Eric didn't respond immediately. He was watching the alien fleet's slow encirclement. Fear, yes, but also calculation. The Aurelians were proud, intelligent, and suspicious of outsiders. He'd studied their dossiers extensively. First contact with them was going to be anything but smooth. Prepare the diplomatic channel. Eric ordered at last. Let's see how they greet their new neighbors. On the Aurelian command ship Varethas, Chancellor Viral Katesh stood rigid before his advisors. His feline-like features tightened into a grimace as the monstrous human ship hovered on the holographic display. "What is that abomination?" One advisor hissed. "It isn't a vessel. It's alive." Katesh's voice cut through the murmurs, sharp and commanding. "It's Terran. Our scouts reported their kind decades ago. But I never imagined this. They build ships like predators. Do they come for peace or to devour?" "They claim no hostility. Yet," said another advisor. Katesh narrowed his eyes. "Yet is the word that destroys empires. Ready our fleet, but hold fire. If they want a meeting, I'll give them one. But they'll learn who commands this region." Back on the Titan's raft, Juno's console flickered as alien signals pinged across the void. "Incoming hail, Commander. Aurelian Concord, flagship Varethas. Their language packet is partial, but we've got enough for translation." Eric straightened his jacket, his dark hair shadowing his stern expression. On screen, the alien leader appeared in the holo display, tall, lithe, with iridescent skin and golden, slit-pupiled eyes. His ornate robes shimmered like molten metal. "I am Chancellor Viral Katesh of the Aurelian Concord," the alien said, his voice smooth but edged with contempt. "Identify yourselves in your construct." His gaze flicked to the monstrous ship. "Commander Eric Vance," Eric replied evenly, "representative of the Terran Ascendancy. We come to establish peaceful contact and trade. The Titan's wrath is my vessel." Katesh's expression sharpened. "You name that horror as though it is not an affront. Your vessel breathes. It stares at my fleet with predatory intent." Vale, listening nearby, muttered, "He's not wrong about the staring part." Eric ignored him. "Our ships are living machines, Chancellor. They adapt, they survive, as humanity has. It's a testament to our craftsmanship, not hostility." Katesh tilted his head, as if dissecting Eric's words for hidden threats. "You cross our borders without permission. You speak of peace, but you bring a creature of war. Why should I believe your intentions?" Eric's jaw tightened. "Because if we wanted war, we wouldn't be talking." For a moment, silence stretched between them like a drawn blade. Then Katesh's lips curled slightly. Whether in amusement or disdain, Eric couldn't tell. "Very well, Commander," Katesh said. "Dock at Station Orith. We will speak further. But know this, any aggression from your living machine, and we will burn it from the stars." The hollow link cut. "Friendly guy," Vale remarked dryly. "Shut it," Eric said, his voice quiet but firm. He turned to his crew. "Plot a course to the station. Keep our systems passive, but eyes open. Something tells me their welcome won't be warm." As the Titan's raft glided toward Orith Station, its hull plate shifted with a faint metallic groan, like the ship sensed attention. Eric reached out and laid a hand on the nearest wall. It was warm, alive with energy, pulsing under his touch. "We built you to survive," he whispered, not to anyone in particular. "Don't make me prove it today." On the alien station, alarms rang as the massive human ship approached. Citizens crowded observation decks, whispering in fear. To them, the Titan's wrath was no diplomatic envoy. It was a monster from deep space, its black hull reflecting no light, its glowing seams like veins of molten fire. Katesh watched from the command center, his advisors shifting nervously around him. "They send one ship," he muttered. "One ship that looks like it could devour fleets. Either these Terrans are fools, or they are dangerous beyond reckoning. Perhaps both," one advisor whispered. The docking sequence was slow, deliberate. The alien station's clamps extended like skeletal fingers, trembling slightly as they locked onto the Titan's wrath. Eric stood on the bridge, watching the Aurelians' every move. "Think they'll attack?" Juno asked quietly. "They want to," Eric said, his tone flat, "but fear's holding them back. Let's keep it that way." The ship gave a final, resonant hum as it powered down to minimal systems. The crew gathered, their faces lit by the soft glow of the organic panels. "Suit up," Eric ordered. "We're going to show them humanity's face, and prove we're not just the monsters they see." The docking clamps of Orith Station groaned under the strain of the Titan's wrath. Its shadow swallowed the entire berth, the jagged contours of its hull making the station smooth. Crystalline architecture looked fragile. Inside, Commander Eric Vance and his team prepared for the first face-to-face encounter with the Aurelians. The airlock hissed as the boarding ramp extended. Eric adjusted the collar of his dark naval uniform, its black and silver design stark against the pale white glow of the station beyond. Lieutenant Juno Rask walked beside him, helmet tucked under her arm, her posture as rigid as her expression. Chief Engineer Vale followed, muttering under his breath about alien decorum and shiny hallways. "Remember," Eric said without looking back, "we are here to speak, not intimidate. Let me lead." Vale snorted. "With that ship parked outside, I think the intimidating part's already covered." "Noted," Eric replied. His voice carried the same cool precision as his gaze. The Aurelian reception hall was nothing like the warship that had brought Eric here. Its vaulted ceilings shimmered with strands of light, like frozen rain, while floors reflected every movement like polished obsidian. The Aurelians stood in a semicircle, their robes draped in metallic hues that rippled with their movements. Chancellor Viral Katesh stood at the center, his gold-pupiled eyes fixed on Eric with sharp, measuring intensity. "You step into our heart, Terran," Katesh said, his voice smooth but laced with warning. "This station has never welcomed your kind." Eric stopped a few paces away, meeting the alien leader's gaze without flinching. "That changes today. We are not here as conquerors. We are here because the galaxy is too vast to stand alone." Katesh's lips twitched, almost in amusement. "A fine sentiment. But you arrive aboard a beast made of steel and flesh. That ship is not the vessel of peace. It is a threat. Why should I believe your words?" Eric took a step closer, the faint echo of his boots ringing through the hall. "Because humanity knows war better than most. We bled, burned, and clawed our way to survival. We're here because we've had enough of it. We seek allies, not enemies." Katesh tilted his head slightly, as if dissecting Eric's tone. "Allies or shields? Perhaps you look for protection against someone stronger than you." "Strength doesn't frighten us," Eric replied calmly. "But fear leads to war, Chancellor. And I think neither of our peoples want that." Behind Katesh, his advisors whisper in their own language, their words sharp like hissing steam. One of them, a tall figure with crystalline armor, stepped forward. "You demand we trust you," the advisor said. "Yet you bring no trade, no gift, only that creature. It's a ship," Vale muttered under his breath, earning a quick elbow from Juno. Eric ignored the comment and turned his focus to the advisor. "We bring knowledge, technology, and an offer to open dialogue. Trade will follow once trust is built." Katesh studied Eric for a long moment, then gestured toward a raised dais lined with floating orbs of light. "Come, we will talk, but know this. Your presence here shakes the concord. Fear spreads faster than truth. I will not let your people's shadow darken this sector." The council chamber was circular, its walls etched with intricate patterns that pulsed faintly like veins of living crystal. Eric and his team stood on one side of the chamber, while Katesh and his advisors occupied the other. A transparent table divided them, glowing with holographic projections of star maps. Katesh activated the display, showing the Aurelian borders as a lattice of green light. The Terran Ascendancy's territory blinked on the opposite side of the map, an expanding wedge of red lines cutting into unexplored void. "You are far from home," Katesh said. "What drives you into our borders?" "Exploration," Eric answered. "We seek new trade routes, new alliances. We're not here to claim your worlds." "And yet your ship is armed with enough firepower to level them," Katesh countered. Eric leaned forward slightly. "Would you have spoken to us if we'd arrived in a freighter? Or would you have dismissed us as weak? The Titan's wrath ensures our voice is heard. It is not a weapon unless you force it to be." A tense silence followed. The alien leader's golden eyes narrowed, as though trying to decide if Eric's words were truth or deception. One of the advisors broke the silence. "Chancellor, I see no reason to negotiate. This Terran speaks of peace, but every breath reeks of preparation for war." "Every civilization prepares for war," Eric said evenly. "The difference is whether they choose to start it." Katesh's gaze sharpened. "And if we decide humanity is too dangerous, what if I order your ship dismantled?" Juno's hand instinctively brushed the sidearm on her belt. Eric raised a hand, signaling her to stay calm. "Then you'd learn exactly why humanity survived everything thrown at it. But I prefer you didn't make that mistake." The words hung in the air, a razor-thin line between diplomacy and threat. Katesh's expression didn't change, but a flicker of something, respect perhaps, passed through his eyes. The meeting stretched into long hours, filled with arguments over trade protocols, territorial boundaries, and cultural misunderstandings. Eric listened carefully, choosing his words with precision. Every phrase mattered. One wrong sentence, one careless promise, and the Aurelians would turn from uneasy hosts to outright enemies. During a pause, Vale leaned closer to Eric and whispered, "I'm no diplomat, but I think they're looking for a reason to boot us out, or worse." "They're testing us," Eric murmured. "They want to see if we flinch." "Well," Vale said, "I hope they don't see me sweating." As the meeting concluded, Katesh stood. "Commander Vance, I will allow your ship to remain docked, temporarily. We will continue these talks tomorrow. Do not mistake my patience for trust." "Trust isn't built in a day," Eric replied, "but it's worth building." Katesh paused, his golden eyes locking with Eric's. "We shall see if your actions match your words. Aurelians judge not by promises, but by deeds." With that, the Chancellor swept from the room, his advisors following like silent shadows. Back on the Titan's wrath, Eric gathered his officers in the war room. The ship's organic walls pulsed softly around them, casting faint light over the tactical display. "Thoughts?" Eric asked. "They hate us," Vale said bluntly. "I mean really hate us. That guy Katesh looks at you like you're some disease. He wants to burn out the galaxy." "They fear us," Juno corrected. "Fear can turn to respect if we handle this right." Eric nodded. "Exactly. But I don't trust them. Not yet. Keep the ship on alert. I want every system monitored. If they try anything, we'll know." Vale leaned back in his chair. "So, diplomacy with our teeth showing. That's more my style." Eric gave a thin smile. "It's the only style that works out here. The docking bay of Aura Station hummed with low, resonant energy as Commander Eric Vance stepped onto alien soil for the second time. The air smelled faintly metallic, tinged with an artificial sweetness. Tall Aurelian guards lined the walls, their armor like faceted crystal, each movement sharp and deliberate. Their golden eyes followed Eric's every step. Beside him, Lieutenant Juno Rask scanned the surroundings with a subtle flick of her wrist-mounted device. "No unusual signals yet," she murmured, voice barely above a whisper. "Keep it that way," Eric said. His tone was quiet but carried weight. He didn't trust this place. The Aurelians had agreed to host a delegation, but their stares carried the same message. You don't belong here. The station's architecture was unnervingly alien. Curved corridors coiled around the central spine, like the inside of some immense seashell. Luminescent veins ran along the walls, pulsing softly, making the structure appear alive. Every sound, every footstep, was swallowed by the strange, echoing acoustics. "Feels like walking inside a throat," Chief Engineer Vale muttered, trailing behind Eric. "Everything's too smooth, too quiet, like they're waiting for us to slip up." "Stop talking about throats," Juno said sharply. "You're making it worse." Eric ignored them both. His eyes swept the corridor, noting every Aurelian guard and sensor drone. Trust wasn't a luxury here. It was a liability. They arrived at a large circular chamber, where Chancellor Viral Katesh waited, standing beneath a dome of shifting light. The alien leader looked as calm and unshaken as ever, though his golden eyes narrowed slightly as the Terran delegation approached. "Commander Vance," Katesh said, his voice smooth as glass. "I see you brought your advisors." Eric inclined his head. "Lieutenant Rask, Chief Engineer Vale. Both are here to answer questions about our vessel and ensure there are no misunderstandings." Katesh's gaze lingered on Vale, who gave an awkward half-smile. "We welcome clarity," the Chancellor said coolly. "Your ship unsettles my people. They call it a predator anchored to our station." "It's a ship," Eric said. "It only preys on those who attack it." Katesh's lips curved faintly. A threat disguised as reassurance. Very human. The talks began again, circling trade terms, travel rights, and the possibility of shared technologies. While the words were polite, every sentence felt like stepping across a thin layer of ice. Katesh probed for weakness, asking pointed questions about Terran fleets, weapons, and intentions. Eric answered with calm precision, never giving more than necessary. Vale, who was tasked with demonstrating the Titan's RAS defensive systems, projected a hologram of the ship above the table. The image of its jagged hull cast eerie shadows across the chamber. "Your creation is grotesque," one Aurelian advisor remarked. "A weapon designed to frighten." Vale crossed his arms. "It's designed to survive." Big difference. Eric gave him a warning glance, but Katesh waved a hand. "Honesty is rare among diplomats. I appreciate it." The meeting ended with no agreements, only promises to reconvene. As Eric and his team made their way back to the docking bay, Juno's scanner chirped softly. "Commander," she said, pausing mid-step. "Something's wrong. I'm picking up unusual energy fluctuations near our ship." Eric stopped. "Define unusual." "Localized spikes, electromagnetic interference. Someone's tampering with the docking clamps or external conduits." Vale swore under his breath. "Sabotage." They broke into a jog, boots echoing on the polished floor. When they reached the docking bay, Eric's jaw tightened. 3 Aurelian workers stood near the underside of the Titan's raft, tools in hand. They froze as the humans approached, their crystalline armor catching the station lights. "Step away from the ship," Eric ordered, his voice cold. One of the Aurelians, tall and thin, tilted his head. "We were instructed to perform maintenance," he said in halting Terran standard. Juno scanned the tools. "Maintenance doesn't involve plasma cutters aimed at our engine vanes." The Aurelians exchanged glances. Then, without a word, one of them dropped his tool and bolted for the nearest corridor. "Stop them," Eric barked. Juno sprinted after the fleeing worker, while Vale ran to inspect the ship's hull. Eric seized the nearest Aurelian by the wrist. "Who ordered you here?" he demanded. The alien hissed through sharp teeth. The Concord protects itself. Your monster will not remain. Eric shoved him back and tapped his comm security teams, lockdown protocols. I want the ship sealed now. Juno returned minutes later, dragging the captured saboteur by the arm. He was trying to reach the station's data grid, she said, breathing hard. Vale's voice rang out from beneath the ship. Commander, they were trying to slice into our reactor feed. If I hadn't caught this in time, they could have fried our control systems. Someone's not playing nice. Eric's face hardened. This was sanctioned. Katesh arrived shortly after, flanked by guards. His expression was unreadable as he surveyed the scene. Commander Vance, he said, I am told there was an incident. Sabotage, Eric said, his tone sharp but controlled. Your people tried to cripple our ship. I want an explanation. Katesh's golden eyes narrowed. I gave no such order. Then someone in your Concord is making decisions for you. Eric said, if you can't control your own station, I will. And I promise you, Chancellor, I will not tolerate an attack on my crew. The hall fell silent. The Aurelian guards shifted uneasily, their hands hovering near their weapons. Katesh studied Eric with an intensity that bordered on predatory. Finally, he spoke. You assume much, Commander, but perhaps there are factions who fear you more than I do. I will investigate the sabotage. For now, no Aurelian will approach your vessel without my direct order. Eric held his gaze. See that you keep that promise. Back aboard the Titan's raft, Vale ran diagnostics while Juno combed through security logs. The ship's organic hull throbbed faintly as though aware of the attack. They didn't get far, Vale said, but they were close. Too close. This wasn't some random act. This was calculated. Eric stood near the main viewport, watching Aura Station rotate slowly outside. Katesh claims innocence. I don't believe him. At best, he's letting someone else do the dirty work. At worst, he's testing how far he can push us. Juno looked up. What's our move? Eric's jaw tightened. We watch. We wait. But the moment they strike again, we show them why humanity doesn't bend. The stars outside the Titan's raft burned like cold fire as the Aurelian fleet closed in. 8 warships, sleek and glimmering like shards of glass, formed a tightening ring around the docking bay. Their hulls pulsed with energy, the glow of their weapon arrays unmistakable. On the bridge, Commander Eric Vance stood rigid, eyes fixed on the tactical display. The living panels of the ship shifted under his hands, as though responding to his tension. Multiple power spikes. Lieutenant Juno Rash reported, her voice clipped. Their weapons are hot. They're moving into a siege formation. Chancellor Katesh is done talking. Chief Engineer Vale muttered. He stood near the console, arms folded but his shoulders tense. I knew that smug alien was planning something like this. Eric didn't answer immediately. His mind worked through the possibilities. Diplomatic posturing, intimidation, or outright aggression. The Aurelians were testing him, pushing for a reaction. One wrong move, and this would spiral into war. Open a channel, Eric said, his tone sharp but controlled. Katesh's face filled the hollow display, his golden eyes burning with cold determination. Commander Vance, the Chancellor said, his voice smooth yet heavy with threat. Your presence here has stirred fear among my people. Fear breeds chaos. For the safety of this region, your ship will be dismantled. You and your crew will return to your world. Eric's gaze hardened. That's not going to happen. Then you force my hand, Katesh replied. The faint hum of his fleet's engines reverberated through the comms, a distant growl in the void. Chancellor, Eric said evenly, if you fire on us, understand this, your fleet will not survive the first volley. Katesh tilted his head slightly. A bold claim from a single ship surrounded. Eric's lips curved in a faint, humorless smile. Surrounded? No. Watched. The Titan's wrath responded to Eric's command like a living predator roused from slumber. Its armored plates rippled, exposing glowing seams of raw energy. Spines along its dorsal ridge unfolded with a low metallic growl, each tipped with pulsing nodes that throbbed like beating hearts. The ship's organic systems hummed as if sensing the threat. Vale grinned grimly. They have no idea what this thing can do. Let's not show them unless we have to, Eric said. The Aurelian fleet shifted uneasily, their formations tightening. Katesha's voice crackled again through the comms. "You threaten us in our own territory?" "No," Eric said, stepping closer to the hollow display. His tone was calm but sharp enough to cut steel. "I'm warning you. Humanity didn't build this ship to conquer. We built it because we survive. We adapt. We don't run." Katesha's eyes narrowed. "You mistake fear for weakness, Commander. You are a guest here, and you've overstayed your welcome. And you mistake restraint for weakness." Eric shot back. "We came in peace, but that peace is not a leash." "Commander," Juno interrupted, "their lead cruiser is charging primary cannons. 30 seconds to firing readiness." Vale muttered, "Here we go." Eric's voice turned cold. "Bring our shields to full strength. Ready to pulse array, but hold fire." The ship groaned as energy surged through its living circuits. Translucent, web-like membranes unfurled across the hull, glowing with an eerie blue sheen. The Titan's wrath looked alive in a way that no Aurelian ship could match, its defenses growing, flexing, like the muscles of a beast ready to strike. Eric reopened the channel. "Katesh, I'll give you one chance to stand down. Attack us, and I will respond. Not with threats. With action." Katesha's expression didn't flicker. "You speak of action? Then show me why your people claim to be more than animals." The line cut abruptly. "Cannons charging," Juno said. "They're going to fire." "Target their lead cruiser," Eric said. "Full array lock. Do not shoot unless they pull the trigger first." Vale stared at him. "If they fire first, we'll have to cripple half their fleet just to get clear. You know that, right?" "I know," Eric said. His voice was low but steady. "And so do they." Seconds passed like grinding gears. The Aurelian fleet hovered on the brink of violence, their ships glowing brighter, energy weapons primed. On the Titan's wrath, the hum of its pulse array deepened, resonating like a heartbeat in the silence of space. Juno's eyes flicked across her console. 5 seconds, 3-1, wait. The Aurelian cruiser's energy signature dipped, its weapons powering down. One by one, the other ships followed, their lights dimming to standby mode. "They blinked," Vale said with a sharp exhale. "I can't believe it. They actually blinked." The hollow display came to life again. Katesha's face was still calm, but there was a new tension behind his golden eyes. "You would fight us here," he said, "and yet you hold back." "Because war benefits no one," Eric replied. "I don't want your blood on my hands, Chancellor. I want an understanding. But I won't allow your fear to make us pray." For a long moment, Katesh was silent. Then he gave a slight nod. "Perhaps there is more to your kind than arrogance and teeth. Perhaps." The Aurelian fleet withdrew to a cautious distance, still watching, still ready. On the bridge, the crew of the Titan's wrath released the breath they'd all been holding. "Remind me never play poker with you," Vale said to Eric. "That was one hell of a bluff." Eric didn't smile. "It wasn't a bluff." He turned to Juno. "Run full scans on their ships. If they so much as twitch the wrong way, I want to know before they do." "Aye, Commander," Juno replied, fingers flying across her console. Hours later, Eric stood alone in the observation chamber, watching the alien fleet's distant silhouettes. His reflection stared back at him from the viewport, a man who carried both the weight of diplomacy and the threat of annihilation. Katesh had tested him, and he'd held the line, but the Aurelians were far from convinced of humanity's intentions. The door slid open behind him. Juno stepped in, her expression guarded. "Chancellor Katesh has requested a private meeting. No advisors. Just you." Eric turned, eyes narrowing. "When?" "Now." His shuttle's en route. Eric exhaled slowly, his mind already calculating the risks. Then let's see if he wants peace, or if he's just looking for another angle to strike. The shuttle from the Varethas approached like a sliver of molten silver against the black expanse. It docked without ceremony, its hull shimmering faintly as if alive. On the Titan's wrath, Commander Eric Vance waited in the central reception bay, his hands clasped loosely behind his back. He wore no armor, only the formal black and silver uniform of the Terran Ascendancy. The understated design meant project calm authority rather than aggression. Lieutenant Juno Rask stood at his side, helmet under her arm. "Are you sure about this, Commander?" she asked quietly. "Katesh isn't coming here to exchange pleasantries. You saw his fleet." "I'm sure," Eric replied, his voice steady. "This isn't about friendship. It's about draw a line he can see and respect." Chief Engineer Vale, leaning against a bulkhead, added, "If he tries anything, this ship will do the talking." His gaze swept the bay, lingering on the glowing, pulsing walls of the living ship. "And trust me, she's in the mood to bite." Eric allowed himself the faintest smile. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. The shuttle's hatch opened with a hiss of pressure equalization. Chancellor Viral Katesh emerged, flanked by two tall guards clad in crystalline armor that refracted the dim bay lights into sharp rainbows. The Aurelian leader's gold-pupiled eyes swept across the space like a predator assessing its surroundings. "Your vessel is unsettling," Katesh said, his voice smooth yet edged with something colder. "It breathes as though it were alive, a creature masquerading as a ship." Eric stepped forward, unfazed. "It's alive because it adapts. It grows. That's what survival demands in a hostile universe. We didn't build this to frighten you, Chancellor. We built it because no one else would protect us." Katesh's expression didn't change, but his gaze lingered on the organic plating of the walls, as if the ship itself might lunge at him. "Your species has a habit of cloaking power in noble words." "Sometimes power is the only thing that earns a hearing," Eric countered. "You know that better than most." Katesh inclined his head slightly, as though acknowledging the point, then motioned for his guard to remain at the threshold. "We will speak alone, Commander." Eric nodded. "Juno Vale, hold the bay." As Katesh followed Eric deeper into the ship's interior, the walls of the Titan's raft seemed to pulse with faint bioluminescence, as if aware of the meeting taking place. The Aurelian leader glanced around, his expression unreadable. "This place is unlike anything I have seen," Katesh admitted. "Your people weave flesh and steel together as if they were threads in a tapestry." "It's what we become," Eric said, leading him into a chamber lined with hollow projectors and translucent panels. "Humanity doesn't endure by standing still. We change, we adapt, we endure. That's what you're seeing." They sat across from each other at a low, curved table. Holographic projections of star maps hovered above it, casting cold blue light across their faces. Katesh folded his hands. "Your arrival has stirred the concord. Some call for war. Others call for your destruction before you spread." His tone was cool, his words deliberate. "Convince me, Commander Vance. Why should I allow you to remain?" "Because we're not your enemy unless you make us one," Eric said firmly. "We came here to trade knowledge and resources, not to take anything from you. But if you push us, we'll defend ourselves. You've seen enough of my ship to know I'm not bluffing." Katesh's golden eyes narrowed. "You speak with the certainty of someone who believes his people cannot be defeated." "No," Eric replied, leaning slightly forward. "I speak with the certainty of someone who knows what defeat costs. Humanity's history is soaked in blood, our own blood. We've lost worlds, civilizations, entire generations. We learned the hard way that survival is earned, not given. I will not allow that cost to be paid again." For a moment, silence filled the chamber, broken only by the low hum of the ship's living core. Katesh regarded Eric with the patience of a hunter studying prey, searching for weakness. "You are dangerous," Katesh said at last. "Not because of your weapons, but because of your resolve. That terrifies the Concord." "Then let them be afraid," Eric said. "Fear can turn into respect if you don't let it control you. We're willing to work with you, but we will not crawl." Katesh leaned back, his expression calculating. "Perhaps there is room for something other than hostility. But trust does not grow in a single day. You'll prove your intentions through actions, not words." "Agreed," Eric said. "We'll share what we can: medical advancements, defensive technologies, trade routes. In return, we expect fair treatment and no more sabotage. If another attempt is made on my ship, there won't be a conversation next time." Katesh's lips curved faintly, almost a smile but not quite. A threat. A promise, Eric corrected. After a long pause, Katesh extended his hand, a rare gesture among Aurelians. Eric took it without hesitation, the alien skin cool and smooth like polished stone. Then we will see what the future holds, Katesh said. For now, the Concord will allow you to remain in our space as a diplomatic envoy. But make no mistake, Commander Vance, one misstep, and the galaxy will know humanity by the ashes it leaves behind. Then we'll make sure our steps are worth remembering, Eric replied. As Katesh departed, escorted back to his shuttle, Juno approached Eric on the bay floor. So, peace or just a pause before the storm? Both, Eric said. He watched the shuttle detach and drift back toward the Aurelian fleet. He doesn't trust us, but he respects us now. That's enough to start. Vale joined them, wiping his hands on a rag, as though he'd been working just to burn off the tension. I still say we should keep the weapons hot. Respect only lasts until someone thinks they can take a shot without getting burned. Eric nodded. Keep the ship ready but quiet. We'll watch and wait. Let's see if Katesh keeps his word. Later, alone in the command deck, Eric stood by the viewport. The Aurelian fleet shimmered like distant blades under the light of a nearby star. They hadn't withdrawn, but they hadn't moved closer either. The Titan's wrath pulsed beneath his feet, alive and waiting. Humanity's first step into this new corner of the galaxy had been a step into fire, but they were still standing. Eric spoke softly to the dark, to no one and everyone at once. If they want to test us, let them. We're not the monsters they think we are, but we'll become one if we have to,